Ladies and sinners, welcome to another Tuesday evening edition of the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. You guys can get at us on our Twitter forums at SinCity_IESR, at Cale_Henderson is my personal, where we talk all things Vegas sports, Raiders, Golden Knights. If you guys get a chance, I'm giving a shout out to the Golden Knights Twitter, social media. Follow it. Hashtag VegasBorn, Las Vegas Golden Knights, official Twitter page. They're savage. Like, those guys just don't care. They go after anybody and everybody, and it's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious the way they go at it. That social media guy, he's like the Wendy's dude of NHL. And if you guys haven't seen Wendy's on Twitter, check out the Golden Knights, because it's no joke. Again, welcome to IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. We got a packed show tonight. We're going to kick it off with the Lady Aces, who are on a roll. We got the Las Vegas Ramblers, who are at the top of their standings in the American Conference there, and National Volleyball Association. As we speak, Taryn Rodriguez chimes in. So the Las Vegas Ramblers continue to dominate. They swept Puerto Rico Pythons to beat the Philadelphia Founders 3-1. Yeah. Yep, they've been kicking ass, taking names. I totally agree. And on top of that, they're number one in the American Conference. Number one. Taryn Rodriguez, the Vegas Golden Knights Twitter page, it showed no mercy. Oh my God, dude. They're just like that clown meme that they made for the Dallas Stars, or not the Dallas Stars, but the San Jose Sharks after San Jose like chimed in or something. And they were just savage with the Stars social media too. It's been a whirlwind. I'm telling you, the Golden Knights Twitter page is like Wendy's. It's Wendy's on steroids. These guys don't care, and it's like the owner just said, "Hey, have at it, man. Do what you got to do." They got to be like one of the highest paid social media managers in all of NHL. It's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. When we get back, we're going to dive right into the Lady Aces, who are on a roll. And welcome back to IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. Again, folks, get on us on our Twitter forums, at SinCity_IESR. Get at us at Cale_Henderson. Click the follow button. It's free. Like some tweets. We're on top of it. Everything sports related in Vegas, we're on top of it. We love our sports in Vegas, and I truly believe it's the fastest growing sports market in America. 100%. Taryn and Larry B, thank you guys so much for chiming in the chat. Larry B, go Golden Knights. Absolutely. We're going to touch base on them here to actually finish up the show. They deserve the latter end of the show because, well, I mean, they've kicked ass. They've taken names since their inception in the NHL. So we're going to give them their love. Taryn says, the Las Vegas Golden Knights Twitter page showed no mercy. Absolutely. I might have a feature article on the Ramblers and their biggest rival in the works. Stay tuned for that. We will definitely do so. And speaking of the Ramblers, great segue. National Volleyball Association has their standings currently. Right now, we have the Las Vegas Ramblers are 5-1, 15 points. They're atop of the American Conference. They have a 2-point lead over the Utah Stingers and a roughly 3-point lead over San Diego in general. The Ontario Matadors. Yeah, they're in 4th place in the American Division, and they are far out of reach. I don't think that's going to be a bad thing, but the season just started. Las Vegas Ramblers are just kind of going where they left off. I mean, they're 2 points behind the league-leading Texas Tyrants, but I'm telling you, man, the Ramblers are just – they're moving. They're killing. I think they're doing a great job of maintaining realism, and I also think they're doing a great job of just – keeping up where they left off last year, where they won the National Volleyball Association Championship. I mean, they're the defending champs. They've opened up strong with a 5-1 start. What more could you ask for, right? I mean, what more could you ask for? They've been kicking ass, taking names, and I am looking forward to hearing or reading your Ramblers spin, Taryn. Thank you so much for chiming in. You're always great with that. Not only are you an amazing teammate, but you're our volleyball representative with IE Sports Radio. there at Set Point. Make sure you guys check him out Mondays. Set Point kicks ass, takes names. Ramblers aren't rebuilding; they're reloading. You aren't lying, man. You aren't lying at all. Yeah, they're kicking ass, taking names. Tuned into your show a little bit today. Love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning into mine. Yeah, so the Ramblers on a roll, folks. Defending champs on a roll. Speaking of defending champs, the Lady Aces kicked off their, or sorry, I shouldn't say kickoff, tipped off their season about a month ago. Right now, they've started out to they're off to a hot start, 4-0, top of the Western Conference standings. They have 4-0. I mean, you just can't say any more than that. What's crazy is the Aces are a lot like the Ramblers in the sense that they didn't rebuild, they reloaded. Their first game against the Storm, they won 105-64. Are you kidding me? Traveled to the Storm. Traveled to Seattle and whooped on them 105-64. Then they go play LA Sparks, who are a pretty good team, at LA, 94-85. First two home games, 93-65 against the Sparks, 94-73 against the Lynx. The fact that nobody can break 90 against this team means that this defense is just as good, if not better, than last year. Lady Aces are the defending champs of the WNBA, and it doesn't seem like they're slowing down. Hopefully no injuries take place, but the power rankings are up, man. Like they're number one. They're number one, and it's by a large margin. The Chicago Sky and the Connecticut Sun are not far behind them. New York Liberty currently in fourth place. This is based off of an ESPN article written by M.A. Vopel of ESPN.com. The Lady Aces, previous ranking number one. It was awkward, and I quote from M.A. Vopel, it was awkward, but everyone on both sides got through it okay. The Aces received their diamond-laden 2022 ring Saturday, and so did former Aces current Sparks forward Derica Hamby, who they couldn't bring back, unfortunately. She got a bigger payday in LA, but that's fine. It just seems as though, you know, that's a decent loss from last year's Lady Aces championship team, but I can tell you guys this. The Lady Aces look younger. They actually look faster this year than last year, which is great. Derica Hamby, and then the crowd, Michelob Ultra Arena for Hamby, went crazy, cheered for her, booed her the rest of the way because that's kind of what you would expect from Vegas fans. If those scores make it seem as if the Aces offense is already a machine-like, it is. Jackie Young, in particular, is on fire, leading Las Vegas 23 points a game while shooting 61.8% from the field. You guys just heard that. I just read that from M.A. Vopel. Star Jackie Young has a 61.8% field goal percentage. Field goal percentage, guys. 61.8% on all shots she's making. 56.5% from behind the arc. So three-pointers. That's absolutely incredible. Obviously, she can't keep that up for an entire game. Nobody can. But that's absolutely incredible. I can't believe she's able to do that right now. Through 4 games, it looks great. But the scores are really, they're very indicative of what this team has in place. I mean, come on. Right now, they're number one in the league entirely. They're definitely number one in the Western Conference with 4-0. And right now, the point differential is 24.7. Opponents' points per game average 71.8. The Lady Aces' points per game average is 96.5. That could explain quite a bit as to why the Las Vegas Lady Aces are absolutely kicking ass and taking names right now. And they're not shying away from anything. Like, it seems as though they understand that they lost a couple key players. One's like Hamby to the LA Sparks, a Western Conference rival. They don't seem to be slowing down. Jackie Young, I mean, come on, man. What else are you gonna do? Let's see what we're looking at here. Right now, Jackie Young is killing it. AJ Wilson is still playing very well. Chelsea Gray kicking ass, taking names. Kelsey Plume, even with all the distractions she's got going on with her new husband Darren Waller, she's still averaging 15.5 points a game. I mean, the top 4 scorers are in double digits. Jackie Young's averaging 23. AJ Wilson's averaging 19, so nearly 20 points a game from her. 15.5 from Kelsey Plume, who is a guard, a point point forward basically, or a point guard, and then Chelsea Gray is averaging 14.3 a game. If those four continue to rack it up and they can get some timely, if they can continue to get some timely baskets from the bench, Candace Parker being one of them, a forward, she's a legendary WNBA forward. She's averaging 8 points, 6.8 rebounds. I mean, she's 37, but this is for championship. She's 6'4", 184 pounds. She's trying to win a championship with this team. It's that simple. That's why she came to Vegas. She knows she's a bench player. She's okay with it. She's okay with being a role player. Candace Parker's a legend. She's an absolute legend in the WNBA, and she doesn't care. Like, she's a role player. She accepts that, and she's kicking ass and taking names. Alicia Clark, excellent job. I mean, this whole Lady Aces team is just killing it. Absolutely killing it. Sports in Vegas right now, with the exception of the Las Vegas Raiders, who are all drama, and we'll touch on that later. Sports in Vegas right now are really taking a step forward, especially if the Major League Baseball can figure this A's situation out, the Oakland A's situation, soon to be maybe Las Vegas A's. We're looking at some scary, cool stuff here in the near future. And that's a great segue. When we get back from the break here, I'm going to play some drops from some of my favorite teammates here at IE Sports Radio. We're going to jump right in to what's new in Vegas, what's coming to Vegas for that matter. And we're going to talk about the Major League Baseball team in a little bit more depth because they're still waiting on some details. But we'll touch base on that. More to come when we get back here on the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Damn! Green team! Set! Hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college and the CCCAA and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I Single A in the FBS? Well then look no further. Join myself, Larry B, and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back to the second quarter of the show, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. You guys can get at us on our Twitter forums at SinCity_IESR, at Cale_Henderson is my personal, where we talk all things Vegas sports. Just to touch base with you guys, we give a shout out to the Lady Aces, who are hot on a roll, 4-0 start in the WNBA, leaving where they left off, which is just killing it. They're on fire. I mean, the Lady Aces have been unstoppable, scoring nearly 96 points a game in the WNBA. Opponents scoring 75. Are you kidding me? Jackie Young averaging 23 points a game? No. It's unbelievable. They're unstoppable right now. Hopefully that keeps up. Also, Jackie Young, I have to point out, 61.8% from the field. Field goal percentage, guys. Every shot. 51+% from 3 points. Just give the lady the ball. If you're telling me more than 50% of the time she can make shots, the odds are, especially in this casino, that T-Mobile Arena casino, sorry, you guys get what I'm saying. Michelob Ultra Arena Casino, I'm giving the ball to Jackie Young. And I don't even feel bad about it. Why would I feel bad about that? 51% from 3, 62% from the field? Nah, it's a no-brainer. I'm giving Jackie Young the ball. Aja Wilson's averaging 20 points a game. Finals MVP from last year. Ramblers are on top of the American Conference and the NBA, the National Volleyball Association. Things are going well. And what's coming to Vegas? You guys know what's happening. What's new in Vegas? That's one of our segments here on the Sin City Sports Show. We're going to talk about what's coming to Vegas, the events calendar that's away. Well, first off, the Stanley Cup Finals coming to Vegas. You guys know it. The Las Vegas Golden Knights have advanced to the Stanley Cup Final for the second time in their 6-year existence, which is absolutely crazy. That's crazy. That's even crazier than what I'm about to tell you. 4 times to the Western Conference in the last 6 years. So they've been dominant, man, in the West. They've really been dominant. They've been a representative for essentially a third of the last 6 years. That's absolutely crazy. And, yesterday's game was absolutely dominant. We'll touch base on this more in depth, but they're absolutely killing it. And their first 2 games are going to be in Vegas because they do have the better record of the two. So let's start out in the T-Mobile Arena. That will be, and pardon me one moment while I look that up. Apologies. It was just right in front of me. Game 1, home game. That'll be coming up here in a couple days. Game 1. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals will be going in just the next couple days. You got to love it. Florida at Vegas, 7 p.m., June 3rd. So in just a few days, Saturday will be game 1. We'll get to see Florida, which has been the Cinderella team, by the way, this year. I mean, they were very different paths to this final. Florida was the wild card team, and they basically beat up on the best teams in the East, including the Bruins, who were absolutely phenomenal in the regular season. To get to where they are in Vegas, they were number 1 in the West after having an injury-riddled season last season. They reclaimed the Western Conference title, and we have the best in the West versus now what we think is the hot team in the East, not necessarily the best team in the East, but the hot team in the East. And I think, and we have 2 teams that are battling it out probably for their first Stanley Cup title. Let's take a look at the Florida Panthers. I'm going to say Stanley Cup. Oh, 1996. So the Florida Panthers have been to the Stanley Cup, but they lost to the Colorado Avalanche in 96. I mean, I think that was those years that Colorado Avalanche were basically unstoppable. I want to say Colorado, I want to say they almost won 4 straight at that point. I mean, come on. But just tells you, like, the Florida Panthers haven't been to a final since 96. I mean, we have 2 teams that are hunting for their first Stanley Cup title. Obviously, we want it to be the Vegas Golden Knights. Why wouldn't we want it to be the Vegas Golden Knights? But that's what's coming to Vegas on June 3rd. We will have the game 1 of our series. On top of that, boxing, UFC. I'm excited about next month's fight with Volkanovski versus Rodriguez. It's the featherweight title. It's the unification of the featherweight title there in the UFC for UFC 290. Remember, UFC 290 was the date that was said to be for Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic. That got pushed out due to some injuries with Stipe and some minor injuries with Jon Jones, and probably just more along the lines of, I think it's going to happen in Vegas because this is Jon Jones we're talking about. He loves it in Vegas. We're going to talk about UFC more often on this show because guess what? The UFC is stationed in Vegas, and the headquarters is stationed in Vegas. Majority of their fights are here in Vegas. We're definitely going to talk about that more often. I'm a big mixed martial arts fan, and I definitely need to get back into following it. This is going to be one way we can do that. We're probably going to have, again, what's happening in Vegas, but a lot of it's going to be featured on the fights that are coming up in boxing, which unfortunately I think boxing is a sport that's dying. They just can't seem to make significant money. And then Vegas or UFC, which seems to just be getting better. They're getting better and better every year. Dana White sold the company a couple years ago, and lo and behold, they're making more money now, but Dana White's still the president and CEO because the guy that came in and purchased UFC, just like he purchased WWE, he's basically saying, well, you guys made this really popular. I'm just going to give you guys the means to invest and make it better. And that's what's happened. The UFC's just done nothing but gotten bigger in the last 4 years. So hats off to Dana White and what they're doing over there. I may not like Dana White as a person, especially after the whole situation with his wife on a video, but overall he's kicking ass, taking names. The UFC is really exciting, and it's a fun draw for Vegas for sure. I love watching that. I think it's great for Vegas. Lady Aces home games over the next month. I mean, you're going to see roughly 5-6 home games in the next month there at the Michelob Ultra Arena. And again, they've started off 4-0. They're hot as ever. I mean, we're not even talking about the athletes. Jackie Young's killing it. AJ Wilson's killing it. Kelsey Plume's killing it. They even got Candace Parker coming off the bench and scoring at least roughly 8 to 10 points a game. So the legend Candace Parker, 37 years old, is hunting for that extra title. It'd be really shocking to me if the Lady Aces don't repeat. Like, absolutely shocking. Taryn Rodriguez says Vegas hasn't won anything. Give me the Golden Knights. I agree. Yeah. I'll say this, man. Yesterday's performance was absolutely dominant. Like, I can't believe, like, you have a Dallas Stars team that's on a 2-game win streak, right? After going down 3-0. They go on a 2-game win streak. You think all the momentum's in Dallas because you're going to Dallas. The fans were packed, man. They were loud for the first part. And then you just see 3 goals in the first period, and it just, boom. By goal 4 and 5 of the end of the second period, you saw more than half of the Dallas Stars fans already leaving the building. Absolutely got mollywopped. I mean, it was embarrassing. Hats off to him for making the Western Conference Finals, but I mean, honestly, I think this series should have been over a couple games ago. If Vegas would have been a little more stout on defense, especially in that last part with the overtime, I mean, we're looking at a 4-0 sweep and a little more rest, but it is what it is. They're still going to get a few days rest. June 3rd is the announced date for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, where the Vegas Golden Knights welcome the Florida Panthers from the Eastern Conference. This will be an excellent matchup. I think both teams have speed. One thing I can tell you guys about Vegas, and I've said this for years, it's their transition hockey. I don't know if anybody does a better job, any team does a better job of taking turnovers and turning them into 2v1s or 3v2s than the Vegas Golden Knights. And some of the most unique things that they do is their ability to score from behind the net. And what I mean by that is you usually have a conductor behind the net that gathers the puck, right? He wins on the boards, he gathers the puck, he has possession of the puck, and he's waiting for 2 of his wings to crash down, almost like a V, from each side of the rink, right? Each side of the ice. And they're just looking for a clear passing lane to give those guys clear shots. And I think about half of the goals that the Golden Knights scored were off that technique. And I don't know if anybody does it better, man. And some of their transition hockey the other night was unbelievable. Like the turnover, I think there was 3 passes that led to that. I think it was goal number 5, where basically it was just the nail in the coffin. Golden Knights are just playing nuts. Aiden Hill, their goalie, young goalie, 27 years old. He's probably going to get an extension after this Stanley Cup, after this performance in the playoffs. He's been lights out. I mean, at one point when they goose-egged them earlier in the series, he stopped 34 shots. Like, just on fire, man. I know Florida. Now, granted, I'm not sleeping on Florida. I think Vegas wins in Game 6. I do. I think Vegas wins in 6 games. But Florida's tough, man. Like, they beat a Bruins team that was absolutely spectacular in the regular season. And it wasn't even a competition during the playoffs. Like, Florida took it to the Bruins and didn't care. They won those first 2 games, and it was smooth sailing from there. They won those first 2 games in Boston, for that matter. Some of the craziest fans in sports. And Florida didn't look back. So I'm not sleeping on Florida at all, guys, by the way. They're young. They're fast. They've rebuilt their team. They look really good. I think their jerseys are ugly, but Miami's popping right now, man. That's a place to be. Next to Vegas, next to New Orleans, Miami's popping, man. It's a place to be. That's exactly where I'd want to be. I want to visit there very soon, by the way. I heard Miami's just gorgeous. But yeah, back to the Golden Knights. There's just nobody hotter right now. And it's crazy to look at the season, the way that the season kind of unfolded. We talked about it at the very beginning of the year, and I called this. I said this was a Stanley Cup finalist, Stanley Cup contender, and Adam Karnik if he's listening, he can chime in as well. I straight up said at the beginning of the season, this is a Stanley Cup finalist. They were able to maneuver the cap. Jack Eichel's improved tremendously. Mark Stone is healthy. Brad Marchessault, absolutely killing it. Great addition for the Golden Knights. William Karlsson was extremely, in my opinion, he was quiet for most of the year, but the playoffs, he's absolutely roared, man. 10 goals in the playoffs alone? Sorry, 9. 9 goals from William Karlsson in the playoffs so far. 9. Vegas scored a lot of points, man. A lot of points. And we said this at the beginning of the season. This is why. They finished 4th place last year. 4th place in a very heavy Pacific Division, which consists of Connor McDavid and the Oilers, the Kings, San Jose Sharks, Calgary Flames. I think had the points total last year. They were absolutely crazy good last year. And somehow, even with all the injuries to the main guys I literally just said a little bit ago, missed 30 games last year, so almost half a season. They still finished 4th. That's how good of a hockey team Vegas is, and how good of a hockey team they've been since their inception in the league 6 years ago. They've been to the Western Conference Finals. They've been representatives of the Western Conference Finals 4 out of their first 6 years. If the expansion in the NHL isn't working, then I don't know what's going on. I don't know what life is. I'm completely lost. Every sport should welcome the expansion rules of the NHL in their own way, shape, or form, because this is exactly what we're talking about. A team that basically had no professional sports in their market gains an NHL team, and they've absolutely done nothing but flourish ever since. And I don't think T-Mobile Arena is never it's almost like they're always sold out. Dude, the Vegas fans are nuts. Light the lamp. I'm telling you, they're absolutely nuts. Vegas born is no joke. I'm a Ducks fan, but I can't help but love what I'm seeing in Vegas, and they're going for their first title in 6 years. Well, they're trying to win their first title in their first 6 years. This will be the second time they've made an appearance in the Stanley Cup Final. I was incorrect. I think a couple weeks ago I said 3 times. This will be their second time. For some reason, one of those other times I thought they played an extra game. I think they just lost in the Western Conference. They did lose their previous matchup to the Washington Capitals when Ovi was basically just having his legendary season, and the writing, it was just there, man. The storybook was there. Ovi was just missing a title to for sure plant him as one of the greatest ever play, right? And it was almost destiny, but the Golden Knights still played really hard. William Karlsson, that was a young team. The Flower, Marc-Andre Fleury was still in goalie at that time after coming from the Penguins. I mean, this Vegas team, stupendous. They've been fantastic in their first 6 years. And I see nothing else different. Florida's going to be a big fight. It's going to be a dogfight. Florida didn't shy down from a really, really good Bruins team. There's absolutely no way they're going to shy down from the Vegas Golden Knights. But what I can tell you is I think the Vegas Golden Knights are a better scoring team than the Bruins ever were. I think their transition hockey's nuts. I think their best players are playing really well at the best time, right? For example, William Karlsson has 9 goals. Brad Marchessault has 8 goals. Right? Mark Stone, 7 goals. Your 3 main players, and then Jack Eichel, I think he's got 8 goals. Your 4 main players have 7 or more goals in the playoffs thus far through 2 series. 4 main players are kicking ass and taking names. And how can you stop that? They're doing a great job. Bruce Cassidy deserves all the credit in the world. He was hired on. They beat their former coach, who's now the Dallas Stars head coach, to get to the Western Conference Final. I did tell you guys, I didn't think it was going to be like that, 4-2. But I did tell you guys, I thought Dallas was going to be a tougher matchup than maybe playing the Seattle Kraken. And my biggest fear was your former head coach from just a couple years ago that led this team to their original Stanley Cup final appearance. He's the Dallas Stars head coach. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, this guy's just really familiar with the process. But Bruce Cassidy and his coaching staff did a great job of out-coaching the Dallas Stars staff. And listen, man, no offense to the IE Sports Radio and Texas account, but y'all can't have everything, man. You have great barbecue, no state income tax, kicking ass, taking names, or you guys know what I mean. Take ass, kick names. Wait, you meant what I know, right? Right? Yeah. Reminds me of that scene in that one movie where that dude's trying to teach an Asian guy how to cuss. It's hilarious. I want to say it was something like something like one of those Stallone movies or something. It was just an action movie, but he was trying to teach one of the other mercenaries who happened to be Asian how to cuss. He had broken English. It was hilarious. You guys gotta. When I find that movie, I'm putting it on the chat. I'm putting it in the chat. I'm putting it on Twitter because it's absolutely hilarious. The exchanges between this basically country dude from Texas and this Asian assassin who are having conversations with each other. They eventually end up becoming like best friends in the fighting scenes and stuff like that towards the end of the movie. But hilarious. Kicking ass and taking names. You're 100% correct, Taryn. That's kind of one of my slogans in life. I'm a military brat born and raised. I've heard that my whole life. You know? I like it. Maybe I shouldn't say that as much. Sorry about that, Taryn. Maybe you're calling me out. You're telling me to stop more PG. Go more Disney on this stuff. I don't know. That's just not my nature. But yeah, I mean, I jumped the gun on the Golden Knights. I talked about them earlier, but there's just so much to talk about with them right now. They're playing so well. The captain Mark Stone is playing so well. He's leading this team with a ton of experience. Just playing very well, man. This whole team is just Jack Eichel he's got to be one of the better trades we've seen in the last decade. Like, it was said that the guy just lost all of his potential in Buffalo, right? He had a flashy couple seasons, but other than that, it was just a terrible franchise, not using this guy to the best of his ability. He gets shipped to Vegas, has a rough start last year, but finished off strong, and this season he's just been lights out. Jack Eichel, shout out to him, man. He deserves a ton of love for persevering through that. I think he had a ton of obstacles, man. Adversity like crazy, and to be the next coming to get drafted, I think in the same draft as Connor McDavid at number 2 to Buffalo, and ton of pressure on you. And what's even crazier is this dude has basically helped lead his team in scoring this season, and he's probably going to lead his team to his title along with Mark Stone before the great one, Conor McGregor, gets his with the Oilers. Same draft, drafted number 2 behind Connor McDavid, and he might get a title first. Who's winning now, right? I mean, Connor McDavid's probably still winning. He's just like a God gift talent, but it is what it is. I'm making that a trademark quote. LOL. Okay, fair enough, Taryn. Thank you. So supportive, but it is kind of funny. I do use it at the weirdest times. Apologies for that. But hey, man, we're just having fun here. We're just having fun talking about the Vegas Golden Knights and how much they kick ass. UFC 290, July 8th. We were talking about what happens and what's coming to Vegas. Bunch of boxing events. Possibility on Major League Baseball. The Oakland A's. Maybe to be this, I don't know, Vegas A's, right? I kind of like what you said before, Taryn. I think you said it a couple weeks ago. They should probably be like the Vegas Royals. I would like that, but there's already the Kansas City Royals, so that doesn't make sense. Though you said the Vegas Kings, right? I think you said the Vegas Kings. That does sound pretty good. But I don't know. The Las Vegas A's sounds great too. It looks as though Libby Schaaf, who's the Oakland mayor, is getting a ton of heat, and she probably should because she's basically about to allow like the third team to leave the Bay Area in the last like 10 years, all because they couldn't come to agreements on ways to expand. And the Oakland A's were willing to spend their own money to build a ballpark. It was 35,000 seats, but also the Oakland A's were one of the reasons why the Raiders had to leave Oakland, because they squatted on a cheap deal because they just don't have the money. They're a piss poor franchise, right? That seeded Moneyball, correct? Where you have Brad Pitt talking about or Billy Beane talking about how you have rich teams like the Yankees, Sox, Giants, Dodgers, stuff like that. You got 50 feet of crap, and then you got the A's when it comes to how much money they have and make. And it's a pretty accurate depiction. The A's, the fact that they're winning, they have a winning season once every 4 years with the way that they coach guys up and farm them and build them up before the Yankees basically prime away or other big league teams pay them what they deserve. It's absolutely incredible that they can continue to do that. They're an absolute farm system. Moving to Vegas would up the value big time. Like, look what happened with the Raiders. They were $970 million franchise before they moved to Vegas. Now they're worth $4.97 billion in 4 years. Vegas A's need to move. Like, I think they're in the like $800 million range. They'd probably be a $2.2 billion team after a few years, which would be great. it'd make it a lot easier for them to win games and attract people too, because no state income tax. California's crazy with their taxes, like super crazy. That's why people are like running from California now. Folks that grew up there are trying to get out of California because it's just so expensive to live. I don't know. I totally get it. But the A's bought land where they think they're going to build their new 35,000 seat ballpark. They submitted their renders, and they think they're going to have a stadium in place that could cost about $1 billion to create or build from the ground up, but it's going to have a basically quarter shell. So you're going to have a dome, a roof essentially, but a quarter of it can open up to let Vegas fresh air come in, which is great because an outdoor stadium in Vegas would be absolutely brutal, and we'd probably see no fans at the well, there's really no fans showing up for Oakland A's baseball now, if we're being honest. But yeah, I mean, if it's super hot in Vegas and they didn't have a dome or something they could enclose to make things better and more comfortable for the fans, they're probably not going to sell out there. But listen, I get it. Vegas is the hot place right now. They have 47 million tourists. Yes, you heard it here. I read this in an article off of ESPN when they were talking about the Raiders, and I remember to this day. I want to say it was, I think it's the Raiders beat writer now for ESPN. Regardless, I wanted to say that, that ESPN article noted that the Vegas Raiders, they were just in a situation where they kind of had to make it happen, right? Bring their own money, get things going. Listen, overall, the point is they have to do the best they can to come. I don't think Vegas is going to give them the $500 million they need to get this going. I do think it's great that Major League Baseball is willing to waive the relocation fees. There's still a lot in progress, but the fact that the A's purchased land in Las Vegas for the new ballpark, I don't think they do that without Major League Baseball basically saying, hey, this is what we're looking at. We think this is pretty much a done deal. Let's continue to work with the city, but purchase your land, finish out your lease in Oakland is basically what I think is happening. And it's great for everybody. But yeah, Oakland A's have they're going to have a dome stadium for essentially a dome ballpark that a quarter of that is going to slide open to allow fresh air in and looking into the nightly strip. I think that'd be great. Be super cool. If I were Vegas, I wouldn't give them the $500 million they're asking for help. They're not the same kind of franchise or in the same kind of league that the Raiders are in. They're not going to make the city as much money as Vegas Raiders will. Maybe they will. They might get close with 82, basically with 81 home games. They might get close. We'll see. We'll see. I really like what could be coming. Got to touch base on the Raiders. A lot of drama going on. And I'm sorry I'm kind of rushing this. We only got about 14 minutes left. A lot of drama going on with the Raiders right now, man. Essentially, let's put it like this. You had the comments from Devontae Adams about, it's obvious they're not seeing eye to eye with the construction of the team. I'm sure that's pointed towards, one, you moved on from Derek Carr. Yes, he's going to be professional about it, but his best friend, it is what it is no longer a Raider. And I think Derek Carr shouldered way too much blame for all the crap that's happened the last 10 years in a Raiders uniform, right? But they're an absolute drama show. It's horrible. You had the star wide receiver, who's I still think's the best receiver in the league, coming out saying, hey, it's obvious these guys just really don't care about my opinion. We don't see eye to eye. They let go of his best friend. Instead of trading for Aaron Rodgers, who had been a much better solution, they went for Jimmy Garoppolo. Now we're finding out Jimmy Garoppolo probably won't be ready. I mean, they feel confident he will be, but that's the Raiders. Again, I've said this for this new regime, although I really like Dave Ziegler, his contract structuring, the way he's building this roster. I really do. I think he's doing a great job, and I hope he stays. But McDaniels is in trouble, man. The indictments are not good, man. Everywhere we turn around, we see nothing but negative press about that dude. And I'm sorry. I get that he had, an experience in Denver, and he could have been different, and he could have grown up. But man, when there's smoke and you have all these former players and analysts out there, former Patriots players for that matter, former Raiders players, former just Broncos players from when McDaniels was a coach. I just don't see it, man. I don't think people are realizing where there's smoke, there's fire. This guy just might not be a good dude. He might just be a very arrogant guy, and there's no doubt in my mind he's an offensive genius. But where the hell was that last year when you had some of the best weapons you could ask for? Why would you ask your quarterback to throw the ball more than 10 yards downfield on average for the season? Where's the high percentage stuff we used to see Tom Brady throw to all those slot receivers in New England? I mean, they were like 5-10-yard slants to get to second and short consistently. We saw very little of that last year. Where were the rollout plays? You have an athletic quarterback in Derek Carr. You wait until the second to last game to start rolling quarterbacks out? I don't know, man. Josh McDaniels just looking worse and worse. He really does. And I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think right now. I want them to win. Don't get me wrong, guys. I know I've been hating on this new regime. I want the Raiders to win, first and foremost. If they win, I'm going to be the first one on this show to apologize. Say I'm a joke and I shouldn't have said that. I didn't know what I was talking about. I will get better. But I'm not stupid when it comes to football, and I'm definitely not stupid when it comes to this team. These guys just aren't the right guys for this team, for this aura, for the Raiders franchise. And maybe that's something that needs to change. But I thought Chucky was perfect. Obviously, he was ousted for good reason. I still think it was a job. It was a hunt job for sure. But it is what it is, man. Like Taryn says, it's sad. The Ramblers have better management than the Raiders. I know that's a bad comparison, but it's the truth. They lost their top guys and to other teams and replaced them with more talented players. Agree. Listen, man. It is entirely different situations, but I totally get the parallels you're looking at. Again, I don't think roster management is the problem. I think Dave Ziegler's doing a really good job. I think the guys that he's bringing on are going to produce, or they can produce at a high level. The Jimmy G situation is just inexcusable. The fact that the signing was delayed because he failed a physical, and you recently found out his foot's in really bad shape. That's not cool, man. And there's a clause. Listen. This signing was so bad that the Raiders had to renegotiate, add a clause stating that if you miss a game because of your foot injury, the Raiders don't have to pay him. Or it's part of his agreement if he plays a whole game, they're liable for the money. The fact that they had to put a clause in the contract stating that those are the reasons, it's pathetic. It's bad. It looks terrible. You got rid of an arguable fringe top 10 quarterback who has proven that in his second year in any system he's been lights out and nearly MVP candidate. Completed 70% of his passes with John Gruden, 4,800 yards a year, right? You didn't have a number one wide receiver. He went to jail. He's now in jail for murdering somebody with his car, right? Ton of missed first-round picks. I'm not trying to make a ton of excuses for Derek Carr. I'm just being real with you guys. He was dealt a crap situation, and he still put up 4,800 yards and 70+% completion percentage. Y'all are going to think I'm crazy, but I guarantee you New Orleans is loving him. All of these reports and negativity that we saw last year before he was cut, Derek Carr was cut, you have former head coaches, players, all ganging up to help New Orleans get better because of Derek Carr. Dude, in the weakest division in football, come on, man. Like, legitimately, the former head coach John Gruden was he's basically been unofficially hired as a consultant, an offensive guru for the Saints to help with the Carr transition to this Pete Carmichael system, which is very, very similar to what John Gruden ran. You brought in a mastermind to help you run the offense. The guy that helped this quarterback get to 4,800 yards and 70+ completion percentage in his career. Now all they need to do is have weapons. Oh, wait. New Orleans knows what they're doing, man, and we're sleeping on them. Seriously. The Raiders are not built like that. Their offensive line is still suspect. They didn't really address that in the draft. They got Dalton Wagner, who I'm really high on as an undrafted free agent. Really high on him. Massive tackle, who could probably step in at right tackle and start in the next couple of years. if he improves. Based on what I've seen, like he's just a mauler, man. He's a beast, and he's great. He's got an excellent anchor step on the right side there. But if they can get anything out of Dalton Wagner, they're golden. I just don't think the offensive line has improved enough. The fact that Jimmy G's foot is so bad that he failed a physical, that they're just kind of questioning whether they have to exercise that clause on his contract, is ridiculous to me. And that also tells me if people thought that Derek Carr crumbled under pressure, dude, it's crazy. Jimmy G's not going to survive behind this line. A line that allowed pressures on more than 49% of its snaps last year. That is a ridiculous amount, by the way. Pressures on 49+% of its snaps. And they think a more statue like Jimmy Garoppolo is going to help? Okay. I just don't see I don't see it, guys. The defense doesn't look that much better. The pass rush might be if Tyree Wilson shows up, but you can't really expect that in his first year. Sorry. It's going to be tough. I just don't see it, man. And I'm looking at the schedule. Unfortunately, I'm seeing like 6-11, 7-10. And I truly believe that the Chargers and Chiefs are just that much better than the Raiders. Sucks to say that. There's a possibility the Broncos surpass them this year, depending on the stability that Sean Payton brings. That's just the difference right now, man. Coaching. And final point before I move on, right? Before we close out the show. The realism of it all is this, and I've said this for a few weeks. There are too many stands out there that are like, oh my God, we haven't given Josh McDaniels a shot. Dude, he's 17-28. He doesn't need a shot. He doesn't need a shot. He's 17-28 as a head coach. His football teams last year, I'm going to say it. He's 17-28 as a head coach. I think they said he's like 13 and 25 in his last 28 games, essentially. Right? He couldn't use Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, and all that stuff. It was just a bad situation, right? Didn't look good for anybody. But the reality of it all, I just don't see this being a good situation this year. You have Denver, who's going to be better with Sean Payton. I think that the Chargers had a pretty damn good defense last year. It was overshadowed by inconsistency on offense. Your quarterback still threw for more than 4,000 yards. I don't know, man. The Raiders will be competitive, but they won't be contenders. For your sake, I hope I'm wrong. I don't see it, Taryn. I think we're battling for third place, and that's not where you want to be. Like, I liked him in second. But here's the other thing. I truly believe by the end of the week, DeAndre Hopkins will be a Chief. And if he's a Chief, there's no way the Raiders are beating the Chiefs this year. You're giving Patrick Mahomes one of the better all-pro wide receivers in the league. Yes, he's probably 75% of the receiver he used to be, but he's still better than anybody on that roster right now. And that's saying something because they just won a Super Bowl. Chargers are loaded, absolutely loaded, and Kellen Moore is not talked about enough. That guy is going to bring a vertical pass game that's really going to show us everything we need to see from Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is probably going to take a next step this year, and we're going to see some scary stuff. So the Raiders right now are playing for third, and there's a possibility that the Raiders and Broncos tie it up. I think 7-10 in Sean Payton's first year would be an absolute W. I don't tell you guys, man. I'm not positive about it. And there's a really good possibility that we have a new head coach following next year. I don't know how invested Mark Davis really is, but if your first two seasons are this disappointing, especially with the roster that he inherited, which was actually better than the one that Gruden inherited, hear me out, minus the Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper trades, right? With those two, they were a pretty damn good team. When he traded those guys away, they were one of the worst teams in the league, by far. Let's hope the draft picks this year step up. Let's hope the draft picks from last year, going into their second year, make a big difference. Taryn Rodriguez steps in. The Broncos have never beaten the Las Vegas Raiders. Doesn't help the Chargers' defense. We're suffering injuries left and right, mainly on the defense. Yes. In the Chargers right now, Las Vegas Raiders have a winning record against the Chargers right now. I just think Derek Carr was one of those icebreakers, man, and they just don't have it anymore. Terrence says, if the Chiefs get D-Hop, I want the Cardinals relegated. Dude, I don't disagree with you. The sad part is the guy is probably going to get a big signing bonus from Mark Hunt and a small salary, or they're just going to take Patrick's contract, which is genius anyway. They're going to probably bonus him a ton of cash so they can come up with the cap space to sign DeAndre. DeAndre is going to get paid like $10 million this year from the Cardinals. I mean, why couldn't the Chiefs just give him another 10 to 15 after moving some money around? They need a receiver really bad, like a proven guy. It makes too much sense right now, Taryn, and I hate to say that. It makes me almost vomit thinking about it, but it's the reality. And the people out there that say that DeAndre Hopkins has a chance to be a Raider, you're high. Like, why would he come here? He literally announced a wish list. He said there needs to be great front, so good offensive and defensive line. Raiders don't have either one of those. He wants a really good quarterback. Right now, we don't even know what we have. There's a possibility Jimmy G can't even play, which means we're looking at Aiden O'Connell, who was just drafted this year, or I don't know, Brian Hoyer. Give me a damn break, dude. No way is this guy coming here. No way. There's no way DeAndre Hopkins with that list says that. He's probably going to be a Chief. And it makes me sick. Wouldn't surprise me if he's a Buffalo Bill, too. They know how to move things around and make shit happen. I could see him being a Saint, but then I can't. I think the Saints are loaded. They don't need help on the offensive side necessarily. I think they're absolutely loaded with people in the worst division in football. It's just going to be crazy to see what the Raiders do, guys. I really hope, to finish up the show, I really hope that they prove me wrong this year. I want them to. Nobody said D-Hop to the Raiders. And just look on the Raiders' Twitter timeline. You have a wish list, and it's like, these guys are crazy. If they think he would even think about being a Raider. It's not even possible. In my mind, Taryn. It's not even possible. Larry Preach. Yep, I get it, man. I get it. And I personally believe as a fan, and I'm saying this on a show live, I think they need to change their slogan from commitment to excellence to commitment to mediocrity. Because that's what it's been. It's absolutely what it's been the last 20 years. And it's sad. And right now, this new regime isn't proving me anything different. So, I hope it gets better. I hope they prove me wrong. I hope they win 11 games this year, 11, 12 games this year. But the schedule's absolutely brutal. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it, unfortunately. And I hate to close the show with that, but guys, Vegas sports, other than that, Golden Knights are killing it. Second Stanley Cup final appearance in 6 years. Lady Aces are 4-0 on fire. Ramblers are top of the American Conference, nearly leading the entire NBA. Major League Baseball could be in Vegas soon enough. And all we need is the Raiders to right the ship. Stop being garbage. It's possible. It could happen. If Captain Bullcut hired real people, I'll say this, Tom Brady's now an investor. But I don't blame him because Vegas makes too much damn money. Maybe the product on the field isn't great, but they'll always put fans in the seats because it's a tourist destination, man. It's crazy. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. This is the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. You guys can join us every Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we talk all things IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show. As always, folks, thank you for tuning in. Get on us on our Twitter forums, at SinCity_IESR, at Cale_Henderson is my personal. I'm the host, Cale Henderson. You guys, as always, love, peace, and hair grease.